So a brief history lesson on the formation of the Big Sky Capital. Essentially, the story goes two Kazakh guys walk into a bar in Montana, and the rest is history. All jokes aside, it is a story about two friends that have met in the cold mountains of Montana. Myself and my co-founder and the managing partner of Big Sky Capital, Adil Nurgozhin, we're both from Kazakhstan. And we met during our studies undergrad at the University of Montana. Both came our own paths in the early 2000s. He came on his own path, I came on my own, and by pure coincidence, we meet at the campus of UM. We studied there for undergrad. After the graduation, we went our own separate ways, but still stayed in very close touch. I stay here in US. He went to dominate, the rest of the globe. And throughout that journey, we've founded and started many companies together. We've successfully failed most of them. We had a few decent exits on a couple of them, but what we wanted to do is take that experience of launching and successfully operating different companies of various size, working with investors, fundraising, working with VCs, and taking all of that experience, the lessons learned, and apply that into being the investors ourselves, and essentially do the things that we would have done the right way as founders ourselves, and how to work with the founders, especially the underrepresented ones from the emerging markets like ourselves, with those coming into for example, into US with a chip on the shoulder to build something meaningful. So that was kind of the motivation behind us starting our venture capital firm. We've had a decent track record from the angel investor perspective, where we invested ourselves into multiple companies, and we wanted to prove ourselves that we are capable of finding the very unique talents, very unique founders who are capable of building, launching, and growing in our organization from complete ground up. And we focus on enterprise SaaS, the software as a service B2B sector, because our primary experience comes from that. And we're capable of helping the founders that we're going to back, or we are backing, from a standpoint of recruiting, surrounding themselves with the right talent, how to sell at the enterprise and B2B solution sector. And we focus on the kind of the underrepresented aspect of both the founders and the markets. We operate in very unique emerging markets, so Southeast Asia, LatAm, Central Asia, Eastern Europe. And we find that a lot of the founders in those markets are very capable and very hungry, and at the same time, they're building solutions that are, the painkiller solutions to existing problems. And that's what we set out to do. We've partnered with a lot of exceptional investors who believe in us early stage, who are our LPs right now in the Fund 1, because at the end of the day, Fund 1 is the vintage year where we have to prove ourselves that we are capable of finding very unique founders and help them grow to the next level. Because at the end of the day, the financial investment is just one aspect of that, and it is a commodity. And how do you differentiate yourself from other VCs from the value add services perspective is that where all of the bread and butter is. So that's brief history on the Big Sky Capital. We're super excited. We're actually going on the tour right now to meet with a lot of the portfolio companies in Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, in Kazakhstan, and partner with other VCs so that we build that ecosystem around us, essentially the companies that we're going to invest in, and that would serve as a signal to a lot of other VCs to join these rounds. So that's the ambition. That's what we're trying to build. And now more on that you'll hear from my co-founder and managing partner, Adil Nurgozhin.
Big Sky Capital goes way years behind. There are two Kazakhs meet in Montana. Montana is a big sky country in the US. That's the name of the Montana state. 2002 State Department program, exchange student program at the time. And when I arrived there, I was told that there's another Kazakh. So there are two Kazakhs in the whole state of Montana. So I started looking for him, obviously, because I was like 18. It's my first trip to US. So I found another Kazakh. We met, then we start our story from there. At the same time, for Kazakh, Big Sky means a lot. It means a lot of ambitions. It means freedom. It also has a symbolic meaning of, being a nomad, being everywhere, essentially. And another meaning that we attach to it, there aren't any limits for people we invest in, for the founders we find. So Big Sky means a lot. For myself, as a founder of the company, and I believe to Jean as well. There's a lot of stories behind. It's 3 letters, three words means a lot. Yeah. As of now, we have the fund number one. It's an early stage fund. We solely invest to B2B, different kind of business models, mostly SaaS enterprise solutions that we believe has the best potential to transform existing in all the industries and traditional industries into something better, more efficient, reliable, something that collects data, something that becomes more transparent, something that will bring value to the shareholders of the companies like that. We believe in Asian founders, we believe in immigrant founders, we believe in search, and we believe in experiment that people can do and should do. And we have an extensive network of people and experts and LPs that we can bring both, to the board in different capacities. As an independent director to the board of portfolio companies, as advisors. We use that network extensively, both in Asia and in US. So it's a combination of things, but mostly B2B. We try to, deal with our egos early on. We are a team player. We work for the founder teams. We try to create value as much as we can. We come early. We take the risk together. We definitely have a feeling of sitting in the same boat and actually, pulling it together. Early on, we did a couple of companies with Jean, my co-founder here. That was one of the best experiences we had together with Jean. We've managed to raise seed round of 500K at the time. This part of the world, it's a nonsense. It's something really ambitious and almost like a fantasy. So all these deals, all these companies that we create essentially leads us today here. That's why we understand founders a lot better than anybody else does. It's not a formal, a suit and tie dude that is doing his financial analysis. We actually walk the walk. We actually are on the ground. We understand the founders. We know what they do, what they experience, what kind of emotions they have, what kind of difficulty they deal with, both in the family, out of the family, in between the partners and co-founders, and all the dynamics inside out. That's why I believe we bring value to our startups. We become friends essentially. We're here to back them up. Founders, they are multitasking. They have a lot on their plate, and they have to manage all that. So what we try to do is take off as much load from their plate as much as we can. The network that we have is very extensive. Those are C-level executives in tech companies. They've gone through all the experiences that are necessary for this particular founder. Sometimes they have a very unique niche, type of very deep knowledge in different kind of verticals. Sometimes it's a vice versa. Those are public people, and when we need to support our portfolio company with additional media and publicity, we do that as well. And all tools come at the disposal of our founders, of our portfolio companies, because we are partners with them. And that's the notion that we think and always keep in our minds. We kind of like the founders that are ambitious. They can come up with a brilliant idea and a very unique business model that works in the emerging market environment. They can test it, and we give money for that, and we give cash, and we give whatever. And we want to validate that early on. We are okay to have as many mistakes as necessary, so long as we do it fast, and we learn fast, and we change fast. Once we've gone through that exercise, we start, doing the intros in the large markets. So we like that idea of, using the smaller markets as a test bed, and then going after the elephant markets such as US or Indonesia or Vietnam, growing markets. And we've been doing that exercise for quite some time now. Like Clockster, for instance. A company started here in Kazakhstan. They've done all the exercises, all the pivoting, all the mistakes, all the learning already here. Now when they have a beautiful product, they come in and conquer Indonesia. Once again, we help to raise money, and once again, we help to structure the deals for them. Once again, we will get involved in terms of the fundraising and everything else. And now they're showing that they can, live up to expectations and compete on the larger markets with the larger players. This is what's happening. Similar stories, we want to have as many as possible.
Several frameworks that we utilize to evaluate our founders. First one is clarity of thought. Can the founder clearly articulate what is the big sky, what is the grand vision that they're building? It's actually very challenging to be able to articulate clearly the long-term vision for your company. We focus a lot on the background of the founder. What are some of the things that they did during the college days, for example? Did you build a club or did you join the club? Were you a cartographer or a navigator, meaning did you create a map for others to follow or did you follow the map that was already existing? Another great characteristic of an exceptional founder is their ability to clearly state and articulate what is it that they don't know. Essentially, we also focus on being able to build a relationship with the founder. Be a friend, don't be a parent is something that we always tell each other. And if the founder starts with bad news whenever you meet, then you know that that's an indicator that the relationship is there. Also, their ability to convince others, whether that's sell a product, sell a service, or recruit a team member, that's also very important, is something that you have to continuously work on. And essentially, is this the type of founder that I personally as an investor can get in trouble with together? If things don't go well, are we able to still stick together and go in front of our boards and say, here's some of the things that went wrong? Is this a wow founder? Is this the type of founder that we actually going to be very proud of bringing to, let's say, an annual LP meeting and showcase them and have them speak? There's 3 risk categories that Big Sky Capital evaluates every investment opportunity based on. Number 1 is the founder risk, which is the most important risk category for us. At the end of the day, VCs are in risk mitigation business. And for us to understand what are the different founder risks that are in place, is this the type of founder that is capable to pivot? Is this the type of founder capable of finding a solution to a problem that evolves and adjusts to markets, adjusts to customer demands? Those are some of the risks that we evaluate from the founder perspective. The second risk category is the market risk. Essentially, is it a push or a pull type of market? Are the customers seeking out the solution that you're building, or do you have to go through that educational process and essentially push that solution onto your customers? So those are just some of the areas of the market risk evaluation from that standpoint. And third one is it's a funding risk. Essentially the financials and the economics of this particular investment opportunity. How much cash they have in the bank, what is the burn rate, what is the churn, and what are the types of investment vehicles or other venture funds will most likely invest, let's say, in the next round. How can we help the founder in this organization from that standpoint? So founder risk, market risk, and the funding risk are the 3 categories that we evaluate investment opportunities. Also, we spend a lot of time with the founders and try to understand what really drives them. As Mark Andreessen said, that resonates on so many levels, is what do some of these founders do on nights and weekends? What is it that you're tinkering with? What keeps you up? What is it something that you're very passionate about? And if it's exactly that, what you're currently building with your startup, then you know that those are great ingredients to begin with. And last but not least is, famous investor Rolf both has said, kind of the difference between the talent and the genius, where talent is perspiration and genius is an inspiration. And essentially, in order to go from 0 to 1, you need that genius. You need that inspiration to go from 0 to 1. But the rest is talent, is your ability to persevere, go through all of the problems, and stay very consistent with what you set out to build originally. At Big Sky Capital, we run our board meetings similar to what actually Sequoia originally coined, from 2 standpoints of the pre-mortem and the pre-parade. From pre-parade standpoint, we try to sit down around the table and think longer term, 4 to 6 years into the future. We are successful. And let's try to define what are the specific actions that we have taken, that we have made, some of the decisions that we've made that led to that success. And conversely, on pre-mortem, what did go wrong when everything failed? What are some of the things that we could have done to avoid that coulda, woulda, shoulda? And the other framework is also, WWYRD is what would your replacement do? So if me as a managing partner of the Big Sky Capital, if I was replaced and some very successful experienced VC was to come in, what are some of the things that they would do differently if they were in my shoes? So those are just some of the frameworks that we would like to subscribe at Big Sky Capital. And we also run Rapid model. It's Bain coined, they developed this framework, and it's an acronym that basically stands for the recommend, agree, perform, input, and decide. Me and my managing partner, we're completely, we're very different from a decision-making standpoint, and we try to go through this exercise where we like to actually have that healthy disagreement and come to a conclusion, why is this particular opportunity is not right fit for us. At the end of the day, we're not afraid to take bets, and we much rather get the right team right versus the right deal. If we get the team right to begin with, then the economics and the multiples of that particular transaction deal can be ignored, because we know we have the right people in place to go through the different iterations. And full transparency is, it sounds cliche, but we strive to do that. We're always very upfront. We love the kind of the Stuart Butterfield's framework for feedback, where horses smell fear. And it's very famous, especially in corporate world, is use the sandwich from a perspective of start with the good news, then go into bad news, and then close out with the good news. At the end of the day, always start with the hard stuff. Don't eat that sandwich. Always be very open, always be very transparent. That's a great question that we ask ourselves at Big Sky Capital all the time. And that boils down to two segments of the equation. One is we see and have access to the founders in emerging markets. Me and my co-GP, we're ourselves from a very, from an emerging market. We're from Kazakhstan. We've been born and raised there. Having that mentality of, that immigrant mentality and approach, that chip on his shoulder, is something that definitely resonates with a lot of these founders that we talk to, that we love spending time with, that they don't get enough exposure, they don't get enough of that opportunity. So that's, one of the reasons that we've set out, that we really can provide value and help some of these founders from that perspective to build these unique painkiller solutions in emerging markets, dominate that niche, and then potentially come into much larger markets like the United States, and for us to be able to help them from that standpoint. And how we're actually going to help those founders that are coming from emerging markets and entering very large markets such as US is another area why we think our VC firm is unique, is our LP network. That's an unfair advantage, because a lot of the LPs in our fund are C-level executives from Fortune 500 organizations. And for example, we have the CIOs and CTOs of healthcare or major healthcare organizations. And if we invest into a healthcare startup, typically those LPs, they potentially will take the board seat and help those portfolio companies utilize their network, their expertise, and help define that strategy, make the right introductions to enter these very complicated waters. And so these are some of the areas that we really pay attention to, we value. That's why we think and we're confident that those are the elements what will make us very, very unique, and hence the reason why the world needs another VC firm like Big Sky Capital.